Hello everyone, this is Stephanie, your CSA coach, and it is week 2 of our CSA. It is a B week for those of you that are half shares. So I'm going to go over what we received in our share this week. If you pick up today, you'll receive this today. If you pick up on Thursday, you'll get it on Thursday. I'll talk about each item, how to store it, and then ideas of what to use them for. So we're going to jump right in with our herbs that we received. So we either got cilantro or dill. It depends on what crate you got this week. Both are stored, so I already took the rubber bands off of them and then put them in glasses of water. Both are stored in the fridge. So most herbs are stored in the fridge like this. So parsley last week was the same way. I took the rubber bands off just to give more space to the stalks. I'll keep them in these jars right in the fridge. You can put like saran wrap or a bag over top to keep the moisture in. I tend not to, just because it gets a little sloppy in my fridge. This is easier to use. Dill pairs really well with eggs or like potato salad, deviled eggs, egg salad. There's a great dill dip on the blog that you can dip veggies in using fresh dill. Cilantro is great in salsas. Also really good in like as a garnish. Really good in Mexican dishes. You can do like a cilantro salad dressing. I believe cilantro is going to make its way into my recipe this week. Now, we receive a lot of these, so this is a lot of cilantro and a lot of dill. If you want to preserve them and you know you're not going to use them within the next week, you can do one of two things. You can dehydrate them. Cilantro doesn't dehydrate fantastic. Dill does, so you definitely can dehydrate dill. And you can also freeze them. So when I freeze either of them, I take them and put them in between layers of paper towels and then put those paper towels flat in a large Ziploc bag and then lay it flat in my freezer, and then it freezes. When we hit tomato season, cilantro is really good to have for that. So I'll pull sprigs of it out just straight from the freezer and use it that way. They're both very thin, so they defrost really easily. So that's another way you can preserve them and make them last a little bit longer. So dill and cilantro in the fridge in glasses of water. The other herb that we received in our share is basil, and I've already put basil into the glass just like the other ones with water. The difference with basil is it does not go in the fridge. It doesn't like the really cold temperatures. So this we're gonna leave right on the counter. Basil is fantastic for pestos, pairs really well with like a caprese salad if you're doing tomato mozzarella. Basil, you can infuse a lot of things with basil. It's really good for like drinks. You could do like a strawberry basil lemonade. I am actually in the process, which I don't have my full sprig of, or full bunch of basil because I've already infusing heavy cream with basil to make a basil whipped cream to go on top of my strawberries. So thanks to whoever posted that last week. I was inspired to try that this week. So basil stays on the counter. And it's also really good just to put on sandwiches and things like that. The rest of our items, we have a lot of green items. So we have Bok Choy, which is new this week. This is gonna get stored right in a bag in the fridge. Typically you wanna store everything unwashed. It's best unwashed. It stays the longest unwashed unless you're prepping for a meal within the day or to use within a day or two. So if you were not listening last week, I have Debbie Meyer green bags. They are phenomenal. I used to use just like Ziploc bags and plastic bags that I had. These actually make the greens last even longer. So I highly recommend them. You can get them right on Amazon if you don't already have them. So I'll be putting this in a Debbie Meyer green bag until I'm ready to use it. One note about bok choy, you can eat the entire thing. So the leaves, the green part, and the stems, the white part, are different sizes or different thicknesses. So when you go to cook them, they're gonna cook at different lengths. So our leaves obviously cook fairly quickly, our stems are thicker, so they are the first thing that you wanna cook. So if you're cooking it together, you definitely wanna separate out the stems, chop those up, keep them separate, and then chop up the leaves separate. They have different cooking times. Bok choy is really good in stir fries. It's good sauteed with onions or with garlic. You could certainly use some of the items, the green garlic and the spring onions we have this week. You can just make it as a side, or you can put it right into a big dish with a protein and some other vegetables, or just do like a bok choy and garlic stir fry over rice. So that gets stored in the fridge in a plastic bag. We received head lettuce, romaine head lettuce. Great for salads, great for burgers. The leaves are really hardy, so you can do like a lettuce wrap with them. This gets stored unwashed, and then you want it in a plastic bag in the fridge. When you go to wash it, if you wash more than the leaves that you're going to use, then store it in a plastic bag with paper towels so that the paper towels absorb the moisture and it doesn't get yucky, because the moisture will make the leaves, we have to pull that moisture away. In the fridge, in a plastic bag, preferably unwashed. We also got a bag of salad greens. So salad greens I store just like this. This is probably the first thing you want to use this week. It's not generally gonna last all week, so we wanna make a salad with the salad greens over the course of the next couple of days. This has already been pre-washed, but I wash it again just to make sure everything's out of it, and then do the salad spinner to get the moisture off. And then generally I use it to make a salad. You can just dress it with a little oil and vinegar, or a little oil and some lemon juice, or you can add lots of other items to it. So your choice, lots of variety we can use the salad greens for. But we're storing that in the fridge in that plastic bag, or if you're putting it in another plastic bag, same idea. Now we got kale last week. This week we have curly green kale. Our kale can be used for, let's see, what do we have a bunch of recipes on the blog. I know there's a kale Caesar salad. We just did kale chips last week, so that was the recipe from last week. I'm pretty sure there's also a kale pesto on there. You could combine the kale with some basil and make a little bit of a different flavored pesto. You can just saute it. Lots of ideas for kale. If you're not going to use it this week, then refer to our PDFs and you can make green cubes with it and then use it for smoothies and things like that. Kale gets stored in the fridge in a plastic bag. We have beets this week. So beets we want to store in the fridge. Now the beets this week are in a bunch. We have the beet bulbs on the bottom, and then we have the beet greens. Both are edible. We do not want to store them together. So the very first thing you want to do is take the beet bulbs off the bottom, put those in a bag, put those in the fridge, and then take your beet greens and put those in a separate bag and put those in the fridge. If you're not going to use the beet greens, and they can just be sauteed like any other green, our kale, our Swiss chard, things like that, just as a side, or thrown into soups and stews. If you're not going to use those, don't throw them out. Put them into a Ziploc bag and store them in the freezer and use them for veggie broth. So any of our greens that you know you're not going to use or not going to get to, store them in the freezer and they will add flavor to your veggie broth. This week's recipe will focus on beets, and if you want more information on the basics of beets, how to store them, things to use them for, there is a whole write-up in our weekly email on beets since they're new. So make sure you separate out the bulbs from the top when you store them. Okay. We have popcorn. So popcorn gets stored either, you can leave it right in this bag and you can store it in the freezer or the fridge. There's lots of information on how to pop this on the blog. I did a whole blog recipe post last year. Lots of different ways to season it, and then also a sweet treat on how to use the popcorn to do that. Really, really good. You can simply just pop it and eat it as is, or you can pop it and put a little bit of butter or coconut oil on it. So that gets stored in the freezer or the fridge. We got to pick your own strawberries, 2 quarts. So these are probably something else you're gonna wanna use fairly quickly, just because they were in the hot sun. They are delicious and they're wonderful right now, so you don't wanna let them go bad. If you're not gonna use them right away, and they do get stored in the fridge, preferably either in a colander so that the moisture is able to leave, or if you're gonna leave them in a plastic container, put some paper towels on the bottom so that pulls the moisture out. If you're not gonna use these right away and you wanna freeze them, just wash them, let them kind of air dry, take off the stems, and then put them on a sheet, like a cookie sheet, in the freezer. Once they're frozen, you can throw them in a bag and then they're good to use. Wonderful frozen in smoothies. You could do like a kale strawberry smoothie, would be delicious. So there's a great strawberry dressing on the blog. These are really delicious, just sliced up on the salad greens with the strawberry dressing. So that's all on the blog, just if you're looking for other ideas. Okay, 2 more items. We have green garlic and spring onions. Look very similar. These are our spring onions. So the bottoms are more bulbish and the tops look like scallions. So spring onions are a milder version of an onion, or milder flavor than a regular yellow onion, and a little bit stronger than a scallion. The entire thing is edible, so the tops you can chop up and garnish salads with. The bottoms you can eat raw, slice up, or saute or grill. Stored in a plastic bag in the fridge. So if your tops are a little bit too tall, chop them, throw them into your veggie broth freezer bag, and then put the whole bottom in a Ziploc bag or in a Debbie Meyer green bag. So store that in the fridge. Our green garlic, which is very tall this week, same thing, the entire thing is edible. The bottoms are less bulbish, and then the tops have like the flatter leaves, not the round leaves. So that's how you can tell the difference. These get stored in the fridge in a plastic bag. These will not fit in my fridge, so I'm gonna chop off the tops, the very tops of them, throw those in a freezer bag or use them tonight, and then the bottoms will go in the fridge. So I'm debating green garlic and spring onions in this week's recipe, so I'll be working on that tonight and tomorrow, so that will get posted this week. It will focus on the beets, so look for that Thursday. But I think I'll be using one or both of these in it as well. Green garlic is a milder garlic flavor. You can use it in anything you want that calls for garlic. It will just be milder, so I tend to use more, or use it in a dressing, or what else, a marinade. If you love garlic, you can actually throw these right on the grill. You can roast them. There's lots of stuff on the blog with green garlic and spring onions also. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, your focus, if you're a weekly share member, is using up everything you had from last week first. We want to get rid of all of that and use all of that up. If you still have items left and you know you're not going to use them, figure out a way to preserve them. So freezer or dehydrating, things like that. Then we're going to focus on using the strawberries and the salad mix first. So those are probably the 2 items that need to get used right away this week. And then stay tuned for the recipe on Thursday. If there's any questions, things you're not sure of, items that you're struggling to use, make sure you post in the Facebook group and we will help and guide you. And make sure you refer to the blog, which has tons of recipes that have been posted throughout the years. And then also feel free to Google. So go into your search engine and put in your whatever you're looking for, like green garlic recipes. Type that in and tons of things come up. But we are here to guide and help, so make sure you reach out to us as well. And please continue to share your recipes and your fun ideas on how to use this week's share. Enjoy, and I will see you again next week.